Hi, welcome back to my garden. So today I'm working on rejuvenation pruning a bunch of shrubs, and because it's raining I thought that I would film and then talk to you about it after. So rejuvenation pruning is kind of like your last resort pruning for shrubs. So if they're failing either because they're sick or because, I don't know, they have like a tough year or something like that, rather than just take them out, which you can also do, you can cut them way back. So there's a few different ways to do it, and I'll tell you what I worked on. So the first one was our rhododendron, and for this one, it's been failing or flailing or whatever the last couple summers. So the first year that we moved in, the leaves were still green, but they were kind of thin and papery and not shiny like they should be. And then this summer, most of them went brown. So we did have two very dry summers, and I think that that may have been the problem. But I wanted to see what I could do for the plant. So I basically went in and cut it back to about 1.5 feet. And from what I read, like 1.5 feet, 50 centimeters is kind of the height to go. And they are capable of putting out new buds and growth from that. So I thought that I would try it rather than just take the plant out. And if it doesn't work, I can still just take the plant out. So because it's coming from like old stems, the new growth may take a while, and I'll need to kind of keep an eye on it, maybe water it like once a month if we have another dry summer. My hope though is that by taking away the top, the root system is still old and established, so it will be able to provide kind of more than enough for whatever new growth comes up, and then that way it can give the plant a little chance to catch up. Yeah, so that's the rhododendron. So I basically cut everything back to, yeah, about 1.5 feet. And then I just made sure that if there were any crossing branches or anything like that, I kind of cut those back as well and just tidied it up, give it the best chance I could. The second plant that I worked on was our Viburnum Bush. I'm not sure the exact variety. I thought maybe it's Viburnum opulus based on the flowers, which is the North American variety. And this one has had a viburnum beetle problem. Now, viburnum beetle, I think, is from either Europe or Asia, or maybe both, and the local viburnums there can deal with it. It doesn't devastate them as much, but I think because this is a North American species, which isn't used to the viburnum beetle, it has been suffering. So as soon as the leaves and the flowers came out in spring, I noticed that they started being eaten, and the leaves, it was almost like everything but the veins was being eaten, so it became almost like a monstera leaf or something. It was like fenestrated. Anyway, and then eventually they completely defoliated the whole shrub. So a few months later, or a few weeks later, new leaves started coming out, and we noticed the same pattern on them. So we started finding the bugs, and we started spraying with neem oil every 3 nights. I can't remember exactly how often we did it. We kind of did it whenever it was dry. So we were able to keep some leaves on the plant through the end of the season, and then fall came and they fell down. So the plan for today was to basically cut it back, kind of similar height, like 50 centimeters, 1.5 feet. And then the difference with this one is that I'm going to burn all the branches, because the viburnum beetle lay their eggs in the branches. So then when they die in the fall or winter, the eggs survive in the branches, then they hatch and they eat all the leaves, and the whole cycle continues. And I've read that if they successfully eat all the leaves and defoliate the whole plant, like several times, I don't know how many in a row, that it will kill the shrubs. That's that one. So cut it back, burn the branches, and be hopeful for this spring. The next one is the Mach Orange. So Mach Orange has really pretty white flowers and like the most intoxicating scent. We used to have a lot of deer pressure here up until about a year ago when we put a fence in. So this one, as you can see from the growth, it's like super tall, and I think it's because only the tallest branches could survive the deer because they would just like love to nibble on like any new growth anywhere. So it kind of had this odd shape, and then also it was like hard to smell the flowers because they were so far away. So for this one, we cut it back to about 2 feet, which is 60 centimeters. And the plan is it will flush out new growth this spring, and then we can kind of keep it trimmed. So by doing it this time of year, it's the best time for the rejuvenation aspect, but it means we're sacrificing the flowers for this year. And that will probably be the case for all of these shrubs. Like, I don't think any of them will be able to bloom this year. However, by getting the shape right, you know, even if it puts on 2 feet of growth, we can give it like a light trim, and then going forward after it's done blooming, so maybe in like August time, that's when I can trim it back and it will still be able to put on buds and bloom for us next year. So we can make it kind of denser, shorter, and like more floriferous. The next one that I pruned was our Kerria Japonica. So I think this is sometimes called Japanese rose. It has beautiful green stems and like buttercup yellow flowers that look almost like straw flowery shape, not so much like a rose. And it blooms for like a really long time, like from like late spring to early fall for us. So for this one, it was actually pruned wrong a couple times. I kept one of the branches so that I could show you. So what you want for this plant is to just let it grow, because it will grow these tall arching stems and have like a natural vase shape to the shrub. What we did wrong, well, somebody else did it first, and then I did it too. So I think what happened was somebody had cut, you can see the thick main stem here, somebody had cut it back, and then it put out side shoots, and then I cut it back. And then what we ended up with was like really kind of wispy growth that's not very strong. So when it rains or it has flowers on it, it kind of flops, and that's not like the shape that I want. And ever since I read what the natural shape is, I was like, okay, I need to get this back. So for this one, I actually used a hedge trimmer and shaved it all the way to the ground. And from that, we should get new strong shoots that come like straight up and then do their thing. So again, we probably won't get flowers this year, maybe the end of the season, but probably not, which is fine. And then I'll just make sure, like going forward, I'll treat it almost like you would like a witch hazel or something. So every year, couple of years, I can go in and take out like the oldest, thickest stems and give the younger ones like a little chance to kind of grow taller. And then that way you kind of keep the same shape, but you're kind of rotating through the stems. And then the last one that needed a rejuvenation prune today was our Black-Lace Elderberry. I'm not sure exactly if that's the variety, but it had lacy leaves, it was black, and it's an elderberry. And for this one, this was a pretty old and established plant. The first year we moved in, I noticed a lot of the leaves kind of desiccated and died. And then this year, some of the branches didn't put out any leaves, and other ones did die again by like July, like when it got hot. I did notice that there were a few suckers coming out of the stem near the base though, so I think the base is definitely still alive. So for this one, I went in and cut it back kind of again, like cut out any crossing branches, took the whole plant down to about like a foot for this one. And these are like really hardy plants. So, and they're capable of growing, I think 6 feet in a year when you do this. So next year it could be like back as high as the fence if it wants to. But yeah, I think for 4 out of the 5, I'm pretty optimistic. I think the rhododendron's the only one that's like a little bit questionable. Maybe if I'd done it last winter, I could have saved it, but we'll see. So what I'll do is when I do my spring tour, I'll make sure to mention and show how the plants are doing to keep you updated. But yeah, thanks for coming along today. And if you have any shrubs that you're like maybe tempted to rip out because they're not doing what they should be, but if you still like them and you want to give them one last shot, then maybe consider rejuvenation pruning. So yeah, thanks for coming along for today, and I'll catch you next time.